Well, today it's 30 years on, and this is the seventh time that South Africans are going to the polls in a democratic dispensation. And of course, one of the institutions tasked with the management of these elections is the IEC. And I'm joined by the CEO of the IEC, the Chief Electoral Officer, Mr. Sy Mamabolo. Thanks so much for coming through.
Thank you very much, and we're happy to be here, and we really welcome the SABC to the Results Center.
And of course, a brand new home for the IEC.
Yes, a brand new home. We find it quite suitable. It has many of the amenities that we require, so it does meet our expectation in terms of the facilities available.
Mr. Mamabolo, so we saw already the South Africans outside of the country, the expats, cast their votes. Today and tomorrow is, of course, special votes, people who applied for special votes. And the election would have started in that regard, if I'm not mistaken. So talk to us about what's going to happen today and tomorrow. And have you noted any problems, any hiccups so far?
Well, we will be opening shortly at 9 at stations that are affected by special vote. We will be helping people who will be casting their ballots at the stations, as well as those that have to be visited at homes or at institutions. At the end of the day, we'll seal that ballot box, take it to secure storage, and we'll tomorrow repeat the same exercise with a new ballot box. And hopefully we then are able to cover the 1.6 million people who have applied for special votes. Of course, teams are ready, resources have been availed to provinces to enable them to undertake this responsibility.
Mr. Mamabolo, speaking of the logistics around getting the ballot papers and all other resources to the various stations, one of the issues which I'm sure you have picked up on was brought about on social media in Hammersdale in KwaZulu-Natal, where there was a complaint about how the ballots that were taken to a particular station were actually dealt with. Are you aware of that, and what actually happened there?
No, indeed we are aware. The distribution of those ballots was happening in terms of our approved logistical plan. People from a political party, MK in particular, gained access into that facility and started taking unauthorized videos of that facility, demanding to take the serial numbers of the boxes and so on. As a result, we have had to withdraw from that storage site and return back those ballots to the provincial warehouse. It is part of the plan that we get ballots closer to where voting is going to be happening. Because if you don't do that and distribute from one central point, you probably are not going to be able to open on time. So it is part of the logistical plan that 2 days or so before you move your ballots closer to where they're going to be used. That's point number one. Point number two, there's also videos of bulk material like voting compartments, packed ballot boxes, a pack of 3 and so on. Those have already been delivered at the voting station. Again, to avoid a situation where on the morning of election, you have to be transporting them. So people are going into this voting station, taking videos and saying, these are ballot papers. And I think we want to warn, in particular, leaders of political parties, that obstructing the work of the Commission is, in fact, a violation of the Electoral Code of Conduct and other provisions of the Electoral Act. Don't interfere with our work. If you are unhappy, note your unhappiness indeed, but don't be obstructive. So we really wish for parties to heed that call so that we have an environment that is conducive for the elections.
So perhaps for the benefit not just of the parties but for all South Africans, what is the standard operating procedure when it comes to moving the electoral, the ballots and other resources around from your storage facilities to voting sites?
There are two distribution channels. There's the secure material, inclusive of the ballot paper, that goes from provincial warehouses under police and security escort. And once delivered, it stays under 24-hour guard. So that's your more secure materials, your inks, your tapes, seals, and so on. And then there's a general bulk material that is distributed with no security escort, and in large part, that has already been delivered to voting stations and is stored at the voting station themselves, because those are not sensitive materials, so they can go stay there at the voting station. So people are taking pictures of these things, putting them on social media and alleging that these are ballot papers. So I think people must refrain from doing that.
The other thing that I also picked up on the social platforms was people seemingly not aware, Mr. Mamabolo, that in the past, what would happened is that, for example, as SABC staff, on the day of elections, we would work. We would have been in Pretoria, but if we are registered to vote in Gauteng, you would get, at that stage, both your ballot papers to vote for a national and for provincial. But that has subsequently changed, and I was surprised to see many people on the social media platforms seemingly not aware of that.
Yes, you'll recall that in 2019, when we had the national and provincial elections, there were allegations that people have voted twice. They voted at the station of registration and went elsewhere to go vote using what we call Section 24A. In 2021, Parliament intervened and said the credibility of the process is at risk if this behavior persists. Then they amended the law and say the facility must still be available. However, it has to be on the basis of pre-notification. So that was done to improve the controls around the elections. Because if you recall, people were threatening to go to court and so on and so on and so on. So we can't have a repeat of that situation. Now, the reality of the matter is you now have to vote at the station where you are registered. And you can check the station now on 32810, SMSing your ID number to that. You can check through the contact center. You can check on our app and other platforms as well. So check and go to your station.
And I think that a very important note on which to end it, you need to check where you are registered, and unfortunately that is the station where you have to go and cast your vote. Thanks so much to the Chief Electoral Officer of the IEC, Mr. Sy Mamabolo.